Normally Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting moments, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of non-believer who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have. So be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you. Well, Pops, we have another interview to head into.
We do.
So I'm going to keep this super brief. But since we do touch on the theme of Legos in the interview coming up,
Jaeger lost his mind.
Yeah. So it worked out that we were able to watch the Artemis II launch as a family.
How cool. And we're also in the midst of watching the first season of For All Mankind, which is set squarely during the Apollo years. So seeing a fictional version of us going to the moon and now seeing in real life our new swanky rocket and orbiter going to the moon, it's so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty wild to roll straight from the Artemis launch into the episode where the characters we've been following finally get to the moon. It was like, yeah.
It was a lot of feels.
It was a lot of feels. And Jaeger had just finished building a Lego rocket.
Well, the Lego Artemis II.
Yes.
With the orbiter.
Yes.
That was a Technic, so you can crank it and the whole thing goes up and then the boosters separate, then the module separates from the main engine. And then to see what did we see on the TV broadcast?
They had the Lego model.
They had it on the anchor's desk was that very Lego set built. Like Jaeger lost his mind.
But they didn't actually launch theirs.
No, they didn't crank it.
Yeah,
it was just sitting there.
They weren't as cool as Jaeger.
Jaeger was cranking it to match the stage of the launch progress. So cranking it up to where the boosters separate when they did separation, and then main engine separation when they did main engine separation is pretty cool. I was so happy for them to be able to interact with the process like that.
Yeah, I think that's one of those like core memories.
Yeah. And by the time this episode comes out, they will be home. The Artemis mission will be home.
I don't know if that's actually true. Depends.
Yeah.
So,
they're going to be home. They're not staying there for like ages.
No. So, let's get into the interview. We had the chance to speak again with Alastair Lichten, who's an amazing humanist community builder. He writes the blog humanistdad.uk and is just such a wonderful person to talk to. I had such a good time.
Yeah.
We could have spoken a lot longer.
Yes, that's true. We kind of had to just call it.
But I hope you enjoy this as much as we did. Alastair, thank you so much for being back on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, if people haven't heard your first interview, they should all go back. We have a great interview about the blog, A Humanist Dad, and humanism and all of that. And I'm sure we will touch on it, but go back and listen to that because it's an amazing interview.
Yeah, and it was really fun. I had a great time chatting with you guys.
So since then, we've been following each other a lot. And the first thing we just have to check in on is you have been posting about Lego adventures. And so I just how's Lego going?
You said the first. I think that's the entire episode now. Right? Are you Lego fans? Are you like a Lego family?
Oh yes.
Yeah. I feel like I mean, I'm frankly, like, I'm living a little bit vicariously because I feel like we're not doing quite as much Lego as we used to. But, like, definitely for Reader, when there's a big set to do, it is definitely their happy place. And then Jaeger has one friend where when he comes over, there's like a lot of creative Lego play. I don't know. I've been like talking with Pops about wishing we had your setup because I feel like if we had more kits, it would be a bigger thing.
Yeah, we've collected quite a few of the smaller kits, but we use I'm sure they have them where you are, like we use a Lego rental service, so that means we can get some like goods kits and we borrow them once or twice a month. My kids are they're a little bit, I've got a Reader and a Go, or a Reader and a Jaeger myself.
Yeah.
One of them is Go and one of them is reading. And Lego, we've become kind of a bit of a Lego family. It's become really a big part of our time together.
Awesome.
For my eldest Teddy, it's just been something we always did after school, and there's a lot of my eldest is Teddy. There's a lot of really great stuff you pick up there with it. Like he's learning really a lot of emotional regulation. It's very calming doing the Lego. Recovering from mistakes is when we first started doing Lego together. He would make a mistake in the instructions, and that would be really, you'd find that really difficult. And now he recovers from the mistakes well. We do Lego, and he'd want to just keep going. And now he's much better at recognizing when he's tired. And it's amazing kind of physiotherapy for him because he's got quite a lot of nerve damage in his hands. So the manipulating the Lego bricks, getting them clicked together in the space, that is really practicing that mobility, and that I think has been really helped him at school and lots of other stuff. And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
there's so much so much you get out of it together. And one thing also is for me, like I've before I started doing Lego with my son, I'd had Lego when I was a kid, and now I've got Lego again, and I sometimes do some sets for myself, and I think that's good. I think it's good for your kids to see you playing.
Yeah.
A lot of adults are kind of, until you've got kids, play isn't a part of your life, and I think I want to play with toys, if I'm being honest, but also I think playing with toys and showing my kids that I am playing with toys makes it easier for me to play with them. And there's for me, it's also about practicing being present, because there's a real temptation to, it's the same as how parents, and I'm the same, and all parents I think to some extent, using the screen and just putting the kids in front of the screen versus making the screen an active thing. And with Lego, I can be tempted just to get the piece out, set it up, and just let my son get on with it. But actually, that reminder that it does value that being present. And my youngest has just turned 4, and so we've now done our first Lego sets, which has been exciting.
Oh, what was
young.
what was the first one you did?
We did we've done a few different Spider-Man sets because my eldest was very insistent on his sets not being touched, and one of the ways we managed to get him to be okay with that was around the ages on sets. And he is very, very insistent that Rupert can only ever get 4+ Lego sets. He doesn't pay attention to the ages for his own sets, but he's very insistent on his younger brother must only get the 4+ sets.
Of course, got to keep the little brother in his place.
Yeah. Just quickly about Lego, that makes me think, how do you feel about police toys? Toys like, we're policing them.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
I don't, like, we watch a lot of different sorts of media with our kids that a lot of parents wouldn't. Like right now we're watching Banshee, for instance, which is very mature.
If I had remembered everything that goes on in that show, we would probably not be watching Banshee.
There's a lot of sex. But what we do use that media for is like a springboard for conversations. And so we have like this active dialogue with the kids about, the nature and justification of police action in America, which of course in America is different than a lot of other countries. In America, it's like very jurisdictional. Like some places, the police are less untrustworthy. And in some places, police departments are like gangs. And you just, like, you have to go into the conversation with nuance. And so I think depending on the age of the kid, you could just say, police, they are looking out for, our best interests, and kind of leave it there and just kick the can down the road. But yeah, I can see how, depending on where you live and what your family's experience with policing has been, that I might find myself, if I were that family, having a hard time justifying getting police toys in general, just for Lego or anything else.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit easier for us because I don't think there was a point where the kids were like super focused on the police. Like, I do think, I know Lego has quite a few sets, and I think we did some, but their play has always been, like,
it's like fantasy,
but also like war stuff. Like, I have very mixed feelings about play with guns. There's tons of it in our house. I haven't
lots of guns. We have a lot of guns.
Anything out about that. Yeah. But I think they've been much more focused on sort of war-ish stuff. And so police was never like front of mind of what they were pretending to be or really focused on.
Yeah.
So it didn't.
That's a really good question.
Feel like there needed to be as many complex conversations about it. But have you gotten into that? Like, has that been
I don't know. Like, I have a rule that with Lego sets and with toys, that I don't ever get anything that is police focused. I wouldn't get a police set, but we've done plenty of emergency vehicle sets.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a great like emergency headquarters set that had a police car and a fire and a fire thing and a ambulance together and those sort of things. So it's kind of, I'm the same as like as I thought I'd be with Pink with kids when I had daughters, like, or with my niece. Like, I never buy. I try not to buy Pink stuff for nieces, but like if other people do, it's not. One, it's not my business, but two, so I relax about it. So we don't. Yeah, we don't. We try not. We don't watch any cartoons or stuff that are the police or the main character. But I mean, there's police officers in Fireman Sam, and we don't pause the cartoon to explain about the structural issues. And we're not teaching our kids all cops are bastards yet. Maybe when they're a bit older we can have that conversation. But yeah, I think we try to be careful in our language around the police. We don't talk about them as inherently good, but also not as inherently bad. And it is also, because the difference is we're a white family. That's very that's going to affect. Like, I mean, we're like ask police officers for directions level white, but then also, see if we have experiences that the police are not always helpful in many situations, and definitely also having a child on the spectrum, their experiences and how police interactions and what they need to be safe is probably different. And just being thinking about it, just trying to be critical of the messages that they get and be careful of the messages that we're giving them but we don't have a blanket no police toys rule.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know once the kids were a little bit older, we definitely had that conversation of like, look, you are, economically pretty okay and you're white. So your experience of this is going to be different than other people, and you have to be aware of that. And I think I've already mentioned to them, like, if you are ever with friends who are Black and if there are police around, you never leave them. Like, you stay. It is your job to make sure you are there with them. But yeah, it's super. And then we came from
also to take to interrupt quickly, but like in a lot of things where we would be inclined to speak from privilege without even knowing it, to try to teach them to defer to the people they're with if the people they're with have a vastly different lived experience. Don't just be like, just say and express what you think is the right thing to do. Just take your cue from them, because ultimately, like, it would be their safety being at risk, not yours. Like, you could walk in front of the police and then like have no problems, but if they do, they might get stopped and be like, what you doing around here, boy? Kind of nonsense.
And I think we've got a couple of one. I know we've got one storybook that's about communities and justice. That's got like Care Not Cops as part of the thing that we involve in the story. We don't really stop and massively draw attention to that, though.
Yeah. No, it's a hard one. I mean, it takes some nuanced understanding.
Yeah,
for sure.
Also, we can talk about Lego the whole episode one, but there's so many things it starts to raise, like. Because of Lego has been the thing that's got my kid now interested in YouTube and wanting to watch Lego videos on YouTube and having to have this first conversation about media literacy there. And this is like, I want to watch that. And like, I want to watch that one. And it's like, we don't know that that's a good channel to watch. Yeah. So maybe we want to be a bit more careful about what you're what. I don't want to just never leave them with just YouTube. You do see kind of a lot of alt-right content starting to use Lego as a hook, and
really Lego?
That's shameful.
Any kind of you see it in the recommended videos on YouTube sometimes, and it's even I think the main thing I've been speaking to my kids about at the moment is they want to watch a certain Lego video, and me saying that's not a real picture, because they see the picture and that's sort of beginning to say that you see a picture of a video. And you see, I want to watch that because it looks really fun. It's like, that's not a real picture. That's not, and trying to explain it, but it's a picture of Lego. It's like, yes, but it's not a real picture of Lego. It's that beginning to think of of the media literacy around that.
Yeah, I mean, I think shout out to the kids' school, because they like very often will see stuff and it'll be like, oh, is that AI? Like, just that awareness of like thinking about it, like, is what I'm seeing real? And I'm glad that's in the back of their mind. We spoke recently about cutting out YouTube Shorts. The kids
that was
watch
a great idea.
That is so far.
Great idea.
Knock on wood. Has
like those weird videos where it's vertically split screen, and on one side they're doing some activity like cutting soap into tiny cubes or assembling Legos or cooking like a stir fry. And on the other side, it's like this weird like reenactment of some like adult level drama from somebody's life that is completely age inappropriate. And it comes onto their feed because of the activity that like the mundane activity. I have such a problem with YouTube and kids, but
But they still watch a lot of it. But we've like one.
I when I can, I poke over their shoulders and make sure that I at least like get eyes on.
Yeah, one good thing.
So easy for us to be unintentional. So easy to be unintentional. There's so much of like, I think we all know that our parenting is best when we're being intentional, but most parenting is kind of just is for maybe just often survival. Just you don't. We all have this kind of idealized way of how we want to have these wonderful media literacy conversations and learning experiences with our children all the time, and actually, a lot of it is just be in survival mode. And so it's difficult to expect our children to always be making intentional choices about media and trying to develop in them, even from a very early age, that what you're doing, what you're experiencing when it comes to media should be something that you've chosen, not something that's being chosen for you. Apart from also it's something that's chosen for you by me.
Yeah.
Well, one good thing, since our kids are a little bit older, is they've got interested in anime. And what I feel like, I mean, look, there are like problematic tropes definitely in anime too. But one good thing is those series go on forever. So it's like kind of a nice mix between intentionality and not intentionality. Because it's like we can have that conversation where it's like, do you just want to be watching YouTube or do you want to find a really fun anime series to watch? But then once they do, they have like a ton of episodes to run through. So they can sort of like Yeah. So you can kind of turn your brain off and just like watch a ton of them. But at least you're watching something that has a storyline and like
It's
cool
kind of how like
art.
you want to, sometimes when you're in intentional mode, you want to set things up so that when you're in unintentional mode, that you've made it's kind of like I guess it's similar to meal prep, isn't it? Meal prep, you do that when when you're being intentional, so that when you don't have the brain power to be intentional, the thing you grab from the fridge freezer is a healthy stuff. And so much of like like we want to help our children develop systems and things that they do so that when they are in an emotionally unregulated space, they have the stuff set up there for them to go and get. When they are in a unintentional, just not having the brain power for that space, the stuff are set up there for them to be ready.
Yeah.
For
I'm
sure.
feeling this so much with Jaeger because I feel like Reader has much less time after school based on their schedules. Jaeger often has like a much bigger batch. And I feel like we have to set up some like when we're not doing screens, we do this, this, and this. Because I feel like every day when it's like turn off screens, it's like, okay, now what do we do? And so I'm just like, we have to get back into the mode where we have like expectations of the things that fill that time. Because when you have to consciously do it every day, it's
Once
so
the cello
hard.
lessons start, we'll be able to say, have you practiced your cello today? And
I was thinking
honestly,
about that.
And
but like,
Jaeger fancies himself this Renaissance man now that he's fencing and will be playing the cello. He's going to be some sort of like, Dickensian hero.
Yeah.
And so,
I imagine
I don't think that we're going to have to push very hard. I mean,
Yeah.
like he's pulling that thing out to show it off to his friends and on grandparents' Skype calls. And so like, I think that is one, but I like, he definitely doesn't need it. And now that Reader has this art project of making the PSG files for their art teacher to turn into stickers, they're just like, when they're not doing reading of their manga or they're not
on video
doing
games.
schoolwork or or playing video games, then they will actively default to working on art.
Yeah.
And that's so good. That's exactly what I would want them to do. Not overkill, not pressured, just, oh, I'm going to do this now. And I think that it's going to take a bit for Jaeger to fall into that because Jaeger's also 2.5 years younger.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm feeling that stress of like having to force.
Reader.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of intentionality, you have gotten involved with Camp Quest again.
Yay.
And I feel like if there is any example of like amazing intentionality of being with children, it is Camp Quest.
So cool.
Tell us about what's going on with all of that.
Well, so I've been involved in Camp Quest in the UK for a while. I actually remember when it first started in the UK and the media coverage around that. And I think there was like a full page front cover potentially story in like a right-wing newspaper having a massive moral panic about this when it started here.
Really?
And then, yeah.
Wow.
I've since spoken to some of the camper, like one of my friends who's now a leader at Camp Quest. She was a camper at the very first one, and it's just kind of funny. It's like we were sat in a field in tents, and then we found out that there was this massive, like, terrible moral panic, and it's like atheists setting up summer camps to indoctrinate children. But I didn't get involved in it actually for a few years, and I think it was a good lesson for me because I could have seen that newspaper story about the first camp, and I could have messaged them and been a volunteer for years, but I didn't because I kept thinking I want to get involved with this, and once I got involved, actually it was really easy, and I was really welcomed into the community. So I think that was in 2015, and then I did 3 or 4 senior camps and a junior camp. And the junior camp is a lot harder than the senior camps I found. And then I took a year off because of having kids. And then this COVID thing, I'm not sure if you heard about it, that kind of happened, and that led to a hiatus that Camp Quest UK sort of have basically just stayed in that hiatus ever since. And people have moved on. People are working on other projects. Some volunteers, I think, were quite burnt out from the amount of work of keeping it going for more than 10 years at that point. So the community's moved on. It's a new space. The campers are pretty much our entire camper alumni community have now aged out of Camp Quest. So in some ways we're starting from scratch. But for the Humanist Dad blog, I reached out last year to some people, and I had in the back of my mind this idea, maybe should we relaunch or not. But my main thing for reaching out was I just wanted to do kind of a retrospective article about it, reflection. At that point, I was doing kind of these interviews with various people about their parenting perspectives. You two very nicely contributed to one of those. And I reached out to Sam, who was one of the, I think she basically effectively founded it, was one of the big driving forces behind Camp Quest UK. And I interviewed her about how that had influenced some of her views on parenting and neurodivergent parenting and secular parenting. So I did a bit of reaching out, and it was clear, even though we didn't have a huge contact base because of people moving on, we didn't have a mailing list anymore. So it was trying to reach out to people to get a bit of a survey going. And people had really great memories to share, and a lot of people talked about how it influenced them and what they'd gone on to do. So I really felt, let's do this. Let's try for a relaunch. And that's what we've been working towards. And after you had Camp Quest director on your podcast, I actually reached out to her and reached out to some of the organisers of Camp Quest in the US and in North America, and they were able to give us some good advice. And we're working together with Humanist UK in this country, who are helping us with a bit of promotion and outreach. So we got our first camp coming together in just a few weeks' time. Not a few weeks' time, but that. Oh, I scared myself there. I really did. Oh, I'm going to need to take a few minutes to get my breath back. We've got our first camp in about a month and a half's time in the Peak District, which is a beautiful part of the world here in the UK, and it's a family camp. It's a much smaller scale thing. It's not like, we're not at a full activity centre, so we're not going to be tipping anyone in the lake this time, unfortunately, or if we do, then something's gone wrong. But we're looking forward to We're looking forward to putting this event on, and there's a lot of enthusiasm around it. I have to say, enthusiasm is outstripping bookings at the moment. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, that'd be great to have." Okay, can you book a ticket? Not so sure, not so sure, but it will come together. And I remember actually, you may have heard of QED because it's quite big in the skeptic base, big conference in the UK. This last year was the last QED, and there was a lot of nostalgia for this conference, this long weekend, this massive skeptical conference that brings together a big community. And but what are we going to do? What's next? And I actually left the conference and went immediately to do a drive through the Peak District, which is just absolutely beautiful, like roads going in and out of rain clouds, and for a site visit to go visit this campsite, to check it out, to kind of do a bit of the recce and see would it be suitable for a Camp Quest event. And so for me, it felt like really a positive that this is a new project. And I feel that the humanist, skeptic, atheist, secular space has had a long time where, when I was first getting involved in pre-2014, it felt like there was a lot more energy and there were more local groups around. People were trying more different ideas. So trying to bring back an idea from the past that has had a hiatus, and maybe its time has come again. And I think there is a need for a space like Camp Quest and that sort of project.
So for folks who didn't hear our original interview about Camp Quest, or us raving about the kids' experience at Camp Quest, can you give like a 1 to 2 sentence pitch about what Camp Quest is?
So Camp Quest is the overall approach, and what the camp quest in the UK, I've got to say, it's different. It's got its own the environment is different. The culture around summer camps is different. But so I'm giving an answer for Camp Quest UK, and I think it roughly maps in this sense to Camp Quests in other places, particularly North America. But it basically combines traditional camp activities with a with activities which focus on STEM learning, philosophy, so scientific, moral, social exploration. It's secular in the sense that it is not religious, it's separate from religious. It's informed by these humanist and skeptical values, but it's not about necessarily. It's not an indoctrination camp. The idea is that the humanist values is what sets up the space, not what you're expected to share in the space.
And I know the last time we spoke, you mentioned about how much you felt you had learned as a parent from the Camp Quest experience. Can you talk a little bit about like a couple examples? Because I think it's hard, like there is something very cool about Camp Quest, and it's hard to sort of get how special it is without hearing a few examples of things that can happen.
Yeah, I actually think I was probably already starting to be thinking about having a kid or kids when I started volunteering at Camp Quest, and it maybe was a little bit of my thinking about how would I be experimenting, how would I be with this with this sort of thing, and I learned things about planning activities, which is something that if you plan activities well and are flexible, you can give the kids a good time. I need to sometimes remember some of my activity planning and management skills from that. We use at Camp Quest in the UK an approach called Philosophy for Children, or P4C, which is a good and you can get children very, very young involved in philosophical conversations. And the secret to that is just not to use any philosophical labels for stuff. Don't label it as philosophy, and kids can have those really, really deep conversations. And skills I learned from that, including it is really difficult to shut up as an adult. Sometimes it's really difficult to like trust the process and let the kids have that philosophical exploration when you really kind of want to jump in with something. I learned about that separating the your humanism from expectations of children. So at Camp Quest, the Camp Quest volunteer, your humanism, your skepticism should drive your values, and in a way that makes you want to create this space. It shouldn't be something that's meaning you're having expectations around children's beliefs or how you want them necessarily to respond to stuff. Of course, we have, as any community has to, we have behavioral expectations. Realizing, and I joked about it before, about like being better at different ages. Like I found the junior camp very, very tiring and very, even though it's shorter, 2 nights with a bunch of 7-year-olds versus 4 nights with a bunch of 15-year-olds. I'll take, even with all the teen drama, I realize I take take the older kids, and that's useful as a parent. But as a parent, you don't have the luxury of being like, well, I'm better with this age group, so, but I can't exactly like drop my kids off until they turn 13.
For sure.
But it is also a reassuring thing of me, like knowing, like I've always felt like basically I need to parent the children I have, but it's nice to be reassured and be like, actually, I know it. I know his activity. I know his really great things I can do with older kids as well. I'm not wishing the time away, waiting to get this time. But it has been, when I found certain stages, my kids' ages challenging, remembering that I'm good with other ages, but helps. Learning that you don't need to fill every moment with activities as well. That kids do need space and time to be bored, and learning that testing behavior is not bad behavior. When I was particularly when I was on the junior camp, we had some kids who were very testing, and I think when I first went into that volunteering thing, I had this thing of even though maybe I didn't consciously think this, of like, that's a badly behaved kid. That kid is
a problem to be
badly.
solved.
Whereas realizing, like, they're testing you because kids are testing stuff, and actually that helps to reframe behavior. So I learned that at Camp Quest. And there's the deficit. One thing I've taken from Camp Quest into my thinking and talking about humanist parenting is that there's like the deficit-based model case for Camp Quest, and that comes a bit from the founding in the US. That Camp Quest was founded in the US because there wasn't an option. All other or most other camps summer camps were religious. Many of them discriminated. We don't really have that same culture in the UK. We have lots of we do have lots of religious camps and stuff, but it's not the same ubiquity in culture. And so there's not a need for Camp Quest in the UK in the sense of, well, you need this or children wouldn't be able to have a non-religious summer camp experience. And that's often in the secular movement, the secular humanist, atheist, skeptical space. We're often talking about why we need this because of the bad of religion, rather than looking and seeing, well, if we create a space around our values, what are the positives that has? And the positives in Camp Quest is you get like a place where kids can be weird and interested and excited about exploring. Talking about, I've learned stuff when it comes to community organizing, and the idea of how explicitly humanist can you be? How should you communicate that? Does watering down your humanism actually really expand, broaden the appeal, or just loosen, or just lead you to being less kind of intentional about your values and less clear about what it is that you offer? And this, interestingly, we had a speaker this month at my humanist group about humanist history and Women's History Month, and this combining outdoors learning with philosophically informed education approaches is actually, that's got a long history in humanist thought on education. Is something that has entered mainstream education in a lot of ways.
I had no idea. It's really cool that it's going to be a parent and kid camp.
Yeah.
We weren't there, the version that Reader and Jaeger went to, it was all kids.
And I think we probably will return to that model, but we might not. We'll see how it goes. It could be that this is a model that, and we might potentially have both. We might have a family camp and a young people residential camp. We don't know how it will grow after this pilot. I mean, this pilot could be an absolute disaster, and we all never speak of it again. But I very much doubt that. I think we've got really experienced leaders and people who have been through it at all levels, and they're going to create a really fun experience. But that's something we've also learned about, like family camps being a thing, and like sort of in LGBTQ parenting community, that's something. We have in the neurodivergent parenting community, the idea of family camps are something that a lot of groups offer.
That makes a lot of sense.
Program of some local groups around here as well, so we can maybe take some of those lessons and stuff. And when we have in the evening, we're going to do a kids campfire and an adults campfire, and the adults campfire will be talking about how as parents we can promote free thinking, skepticism, that sort of stuff. So you hope maybe the campfire be a little bit like this podcast in some ways.
Oh my God, that that sounds like a blast. I wish we could do it. I do think, from what I can tell from sort of how the kids felt there, I do think, speaking of like, what is the community we can create? There was this amazing sense of like the ability to like explore anything, yet within safe boundaries, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, they created a shrine in one of the cabins that just sort of like grew out of people being creative. I think they had like a rubber rat or something. It was like a rubber rat, and a whole shrine developed around the rubber rat.
All hail the rat.
That grew throughout the course of the week. And different games. Yeah, I don't know. I just think...
Dungeons and Ethics.
Yeah. Ours did Dungeons and Ethics, which is a version of Dungeons and Dragons focused more on sort of philosophical principles. But yeah, I'm so glad you're doing it, because it's like such a special place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so
we're
needed.
hoping we can recapture... we had to set it down, I think, because we're doing it at a much smaller scale. We're not as I mentioned, we're not at an activity centre. So when we were previously at the activity centre, we'd have the kids do traditional camp activities led by instructors during the morning, and then science activities, philosophy stuff in the afternoon. We can't lean on that. I'm thinking, in this, we only got 2 nights. It's a smaller scale thing. The kids won't have that same level of independence because their parents will be there. What aspects of Camp Quest can we do in this smaller level? Can we get the core of stuff? Can we give people enough of the Camp Quest experience that they see, yeah, this is something I want to do next year. This is and yeah, like, maybe next year we'll have archery and rock climbing and all of that stuff. We don't have that now, but are they getting that same sense of fun, physical camping activities, and then set them up for having that more exploratory STEM, philosophy, ethics exploration?
Well, I hope it goes really well. We will definitely put information in the show notes about how people can connect with it.
Please do. And we are... Our minimum numbers and our maximum numbers don't have a lot of leeway, so please check. There's currently spaces available, but if we do run out of spaces, we will hope. We don't know what exact format. We need to digest the lessons. So if you can't make it to this camp, but you're interested in doing this, or sending your kids to Camp Quest in the UK in the future, please do sign up.
So this makes me think, because not only are you starting this Camp Quest experience, you also do a lot with local humanist groups. You mentioned one of the speakers that you had. And right now, I feel like, I don't know, in the US, obviously, everything is burning down.
Why? I haven't looked at the news. Everything's fine, right?
Yeah, no, it's so chill. I feel like everybody needs to be doing things to try to create change right now. We're also parents. I'm also working full time. And I'm just trying to figure out what feels right for myself with like community action and how much time I can commit to it. I might be like forming this group in our community. I don't know if it's very much like, I don't know if anything's going to come of it. We had some people come to the first meeting. Who knows if it dies out or becomes something. I don't even know if that works, if it's like the right place for me. Also, everything is exhausting. Have you found, like, how do you think about how much you want to be doing outside your family and in the community? Like, have you found any good rubrics for like placing boundaries or like realizing when you can do more? Because I particularly in these like ages of intense parenting, I feel like it is so hard to figure this stuff out.
It's difficult. And I think one thing just to say and to start with is, it is difficult, and there's not a great perfect answer. The world is very depressing in many ways, but also I find it very energizing. It's kind of, the rise of the far right, Christian nationalism, Christo-fascism, whatever you want to call it, in the US and in the UK, we have our own particular versions of that, is very scary. We have to. I think there was a phrase that Governor Waltz used that I've really liked and I've used in other places. Islands of decency. He was talking about Minnesota, and we've got to find and create islands of decency. And the first island of decency we can create is our own families. So for a long time when I was growing up, and when I was started getting active in humanism and skeptic movement, I felt that my humanist values were kind of in the ascendance. And like, I remember my first week working at the National Secular Society, the Marriage Same-Sex Couples Act was passed in England and Wales.
Oh, wow.
Which there'd been long campaigning leading up to that. But that was kind of an indication. There were lots of these indications. I really felt my values were in the ascendance. There was the corporations were like, corporate woke. It was at its height. There, you can criticize how corporations were just cashing in on that, but it was an indication of how many people felt that our society was going. It was a time when maybe we did have a right-wing government, but we also had MPs where "this is what a feminist looks like" T-shirts in the House of Commons. So that feeling my values were in the ascendance, and I don't necessarily feel that reactionary right-wing values are in the ascendance in the UK. We do have our far right party leading in the polls, but that's because of how fractured our political system is for many reasons. But I certainly don't feel certain that my values are winning. But I also like, Reform have talked about scrapping. There are far right parties. They've talked about scrapping the Equality Act, rolling back marriage equality, etc. Even if you did that, the values in my family and in my close, and by my family I mean our close knit extended friends as well, they're an island. They're an island of decency. In my humanist local group, I can try and make that a place where people are welcome. So that you kind of got to start with those. How much can you then affect the wider world, and how much you're able to engage in that is a challenging question. And I have my energy levels go up and down, and when I'll be kind of at a stage where I like, let's get in. I'm going to sign up to. And I've signed up to 50 different mailing lists, and I really want to be engaged. And I've signed up to updates about this protest and that protest and all the rest of it. And then my energy levels go down, and you need to manage that. We don't all need to be leaders of stuff. There's a couple of projects I'm involved in where I am a leader, but most of the things that I follow and try to support and give a very, very small amount of money to when I can are not things where I am or aspire to be a leader. And there can be a sense of retreating into, well, I can't challenge bigotry and extremism in society, but I can focus on my immediate family and making this an inclusive place, teaching my kids to value these things. And there can be a sense that is sometimes a bit of a retreat from the world, but sometimes retreats are important parts of things. You do need to sometimes retreat in order to recover, replenish, and then be able to advance.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Tactical retreat.
That's the phrase.
Well, I think I'm going to have to keep thinking about that, because even more than thinking about like giving yourself that time to pull back, I really like that idea of like focusing on the space you're creating. I feel like maybe there's a way to like apply that to my life too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
like maybe that's a rubric. Like if you're thinking about like the space you want to create, what are the right things to get involved in? Where can you create that? If you don't have the energy, like just thinking about creating that in your family, but then also thinking about like what the space is that you're creating for your own life. And if you're like running yourself ragged, you're probably not creating that space for yourself. But also if you're not doing anything and you have the capacity, then you're also like walling yourself off from opportunities to like be in that space. I don't know. This was incredibly helpful. I'm glad I asked the question.
Well, it's like caregiving, right? Like to be an effective caregiver in any capacity, you have to have blow-off valves. You have to have your personal space. You have to be able to retreat so you can re-energize yourself or just cry. Like you have to get it out because you can't just absorb. So in order to be like, in order to think about this, I think that maybe the way I've been thinking about it is wrong. Maybe I need to think about outreach and public service as a sort of caregiving. Like I give enough where I can see an effective change, but I have to have that ability to set a boundary so that way when I feel my battery just like drained, I have to be able to say no. And so that autistic side of myself, or not even that, the ADHD side of myself is going to want to people please. And if I get involved in something like a bigger movement or like a PTO, for instance, I'm going to want to like appease the people that are out there doing more. Otherwise, I'm not going to feel like what I'm doing is going to matter as much, even though it might. Like small actions matter. It isn't like a small amount of effort isn't effort. And it doesn't mean that a small amount of effort can't yield a disproportionately large and positive result. But that's not the way that I think. So I have to know that about myself and then protect myself from overextending myself, especially when I have my own personal goals that contribute to my mental health.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is a lot to think about.
I come back to it's I don't do a perfect job. I can think so much of stuff I want to do better. We've got out of the habit of we went for a stage of really being reading a lot of social issue focused books, and we kind of haven't so much at the moment. There's so much more we could be doing, but we've also got to keep ourselves safe. Like I don't volunteer to do leaflets for my local political party anymore. When it comes, I do a couple of hundred on election day. That's all I do because I cannot come home and there be a stack of leaflets outside my door and a text message saying, "Are you okay to do some leaflets? By the way, I've already dropped them off." Like I got to protect myself on stuff like that. I think we chatted on Facebook a while ago about protests, didn't we? Like I really want to take my kids to a protest. I think it's really important. I think it's a really valuable learning thing. We've talked about protests. We've seen protests in some of the books, and I want to take them to that. So that I, as a parent, I can't take my kids, and I can't go myself to a protest where there might be violent confrontations with the far right, and
Yeah.
I can't go to a protest where I might be kettled by the police because I don't have that time and availability at the moment. Like I can't, I can't deal with that. We had an event recently we had dealt with my local humanist group where we had basically a local neo-Nazi group protest us, and
Oh God.
yeah,
Fuck
that
them.
was
Jesus.
that was unexpected. We had an event on asylum and immigration, and this is like we've had a lot of asylum we've had a lot of big anti-racist protests in the UK. Generally speaking, when an anti-racist protest is organised, the far right are completely outnumbered because they're very loud, but there's not a huge number of them. And I felt guilty about not going to any of these because I just don't have the capacity. And then, so I thought one of our local humanist group do a talk about asylum and immigration, and we invited some local anti-racist groups and local asylum aid groups, our local MP, and then it turned out that was shared on a on a far right Facebook group, so we had to deal with And I was like, they're like, I was chatting with my fellow organisers, like, how seriously do we need to take these people? Are they just like, anyone can say on Facebook they go protest, and it's like, they were the ones who organised this protest and shared a news story. It's like, okay, we're going to need to talk to some people about how we manage that.
Yeah.
And we had also, because we had an MP speaking, we needed to have coordination with the police, because that is unfortunately that there is a far right threat to MPs has been a big issue. Like, God, with only 10 years ago we had I think it's 2016, we had in the run up to the election an MP, outspoken humanist, was murdered by a member of the far right.
Oh,
And in the 10 years since then, we've got like where kind of a lot of issues in this country have gone since then. It's really quite scary. So I had to have a conversation about, look, if there is this protest and it's kicking off, like, I cannot be involved in it. I cannot be involved in. There's other people there who are there specifically to counter. So the local anti-racist group brought a lot of people along, and they just shouted down the far right group. That's going on outside the venue. I'm dealing with putting on the event, dealing with the speaking and stuff, because I can't get involved in that, because I don't have the capacity to get involved in that. And if there is any leading to like any sort of violent confrontation, that's a risk I can't. That's a risk I can't take as a parent, and my responsibilities. So yeah, remind, because I know we did chat on Facebook about taking kids to protests and kind of both our shared interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Where did you end up?
We did one No Kings.
We're going to do at the same place another No Kings the week after we get back from New York for spring break.
Yeah. So in our city, at least with those protests, there's like the big one downtown. And I think for the exact, and it's all been very smooth, but I think for exactly kind of the...
If bad stuff's going to happen, it would happen there. The one that we go to is very
smaller.
suburban, much smaller. There were some counter protesters driving around in pickup trucks, like flipping people the bird, whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't get out of their trucks.
My favorite is there was one gentleman in like a Trump sweatshirt who just it's like it takes place around a circle, and he just walked the circle with his dog, looking very sad and upset. I was like, sir, I don't quite like, there are lots of places to walk your dog.
Just like give him a hug. Be like, dude, you're welcome here too. We are all under threat by that asshole. You know, your sweatshirt doesn't insulate you from tariffs or ICE or whatever, you know?
Yeah. But so I think we'll do that again. Yeah, I think we've thought about it very similar to you. I know I saw a post on Facebook, which was a woman saying, like, single moms, I see you, that, like, you can't put yourself in harm's way for some of this stuff. Like, when you're the only person to go home and take care of things, like, you just, I think, very practically have to
find other ways to protest.
Yeah, different considerations.
Phone bank.
Yeah. So... but I do, like, I think they enjoyed the first one. They loved it. We liked guessing which cars would honk in solidarity. Like, was there
always Subarus?
Well, yeah, you can count on the Subarus, but like beyond that, were there car manufacturers we could rely on?
I think all the Range Rovers too. Yeah. There's like definitely like a lot of yuppie pride in that No Kings protest.
Yeah, so we'll try to do it again.
So I also want that my kids' sense of justice and justice sensitivity is kind of so strong that sometimes I don't let them know about certain things, because they will just be like, I know my eldest, when found out about unhoused people, and it's like, but people need homes, and it's just like, but people just was very stuck on this, like, but people need homes. Why do people not have homes? It's like, I mean, because there's a political economic system that's very complicated, and there's big injustices.
Predatory.
Like, you're right, you're right. And if I were to explain to them, like, about certain. It's like I think there could be theories like, but why do people think that certain like I had when we were in America, I had like my wife and I said something about like why can't we walk? Why is it so difficult to walk? And I was like, and it's like, and we just said, oh yeah, because Americans think the cars are more important than people, and then which is a throwaway comment that we have now heard. Like whenever America comes up, and I'm sorry for me bad mouth for your country, but whenever America comes out after we still hear, but why do they think that cars are more important than people? And it's like, well, oh, we'll give you a book on urbanism, and we'll read that when we're old.
Yeah. I actually got my best friend's daughter is just this amazing young woman and has been interested in a lot of different things. And I actually found like a young adult book where the main character gets involved in like city planning. I'll try to find that again and
That's so
post it.
cool.
You've got to share it, yeah.
Books are amazing.
They are indeed.
So we've got a book and I love the series is brilliant. I love it. It's called First Conversations, and one of the books in it is First Conversations about justice. And in it, one of the illustrations is of a protest. And my son saw this picture and said that they were kind of what he said, but I think he was saying that they were bad, the people.
Mm.
And why? Because they're shouting and they're angry. And it's like, I mean, in the book that they've got reasons why they're shouting and they're angry, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Learning that so it was just really that like, oh, they're angry. That means they're naughty. That means they're doing wrong. And it's like, well, we tell you we don't want you shouting and being angry because the things that you're shouting and being angry about are probably stuff you're arguing over toys. The people in the book are shouting and angry because of systemic societal injustices that you don't have the current capacity to
Not
understand.
because you want a third pudding.
Yeah.
No.
Though also, like, I think you could also ask, like, is there anything that you think it's like it would be good to be angry about?
That's a great question.
Yeah. I taught them a protest song. This is one of my favorite proudest moments. Like I was having a day when I was being like really grumpy. I was not handling their being emotionally dysregulated in their testing behavior as well as I would like to be. And I taught them like to do that like a daddy don't be angry protest. And it's like, daddies don't be angry, the daddies don't be grumpy. Like I mean, like we got like doing like what do we? I think we tried what do we want? Like what do we want? Daddy's not grumpy. Like when do we want it now?
Want it? Never.
They didn't go for the shout and response, but they did find it very funny. Like the dad, like me doing a little protest song.
And then you're going to ask them to go take baths one day, and they'll be like, "Hell no, we won't go."
It's the difficulty of gentle parenting and humanist parenting and free thought parenting is like we want to raise kids to be able to question authority, but I want them to do what they're told, and that is in conflict. I want my kids to be like question everything, but do what I tell you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like righteous anger is one of the things that we like to point out. Like we're watching The West Wing right now, and I absolutely love that show. And for those of you who don't know, it started being aired in 1999. So it's, with 25 years old, but still it's not super old. But it's about the West Wing of the White House, fictional, White House administration. And the people that work there are very passionate and they're very left-leaning, but they're very passionate. And it's a great opportunity to talk to the kids about righteous anger. And sometimes the character's righteous anger doesn't come to fruition. Sometimes it's very effective. Sometimes their anger that they think is righteous is actually misplaced. But, those big emotions, causing trouble in a good way or maybe a bad way is like, I don't think as parents we can have too few of those conversations with the kids as they age. Just because they're going to have an increase, from what we see and happening in the world, an increasing number of opportunities to have righteous anger about all sorts of things, and
Silver lining.
they need to be equipped. Yeah, silver lining. But they need to be emotionally equipped.
I mean, the big silver lining is that, if the fascists do take over, I will be able to say, I told you so. And that will...
It's going to feel really good.
There's a line in The West Wing about a mind at work, which made it into the Hamilton musical. There's this, I can't remember what song it is in Hamilton, but it's like, I'm looking for a mind at work. And that was inspired by line in The West Wing. And that, idea of a mind at work is something that I find that intentional thinking about parenting, about the conversations that you two have on the podcast. That's why I jotted down a mind at work, because what you're doing, then there's not a huge discussion about religion on the podcast in many ways. You're taking your skepticism, humanism, atheism, however you want to, whatever you want to center there, and how it informs your values. And that informs how you think about and how we get to hear on the podcast you discussing and working through those parenting issues. And that is the very fancy academic phrase for that would be secular cognition, but that we don't have time to get.
We should rename it.
Yeah,
it'll sound like an NPR bit. And the Secular Cognition Podcast, brought to you by Carnival Cruise. Maybe not.
We're not a cruise family.
I hate cruises, except river cruises. I'll take barges any day. Barges are nice. Go down the Rhone.
Well, Alastair, we could talk to you forever, obviously. I think we need to call it. Can you let people know how they can follow you and hear your wonderful thoughts more?
I have 5 more pages of notes on Lego. So I thought we were here for another 3 hours talking about Lego. But...
I did not even get into my hatred of Lego friends making skinnier figurines.
Oh, that's a
because those are for girls.
Episode.
No, they're terrible, but they also have very good representation of people with disabilities and different physical ailments as well.
I know. And
marine vets. The marine vet rescue one with the little with the jet skis and the little thing where it lifts the dolphins up out of the water so you could perform surgery on them.
I like the sets. I'm a girl, but they made them skinny. Anyway,
I know it's
sorry.
like Barbie Lego at its gross.
Sorry, I really should. I won't keep you here for all 5 pages of notes. And
that'll be for the next interview.
Yeah.
By the time Mums has got through the edit and edited me down to about 10-15 minutes, I'm going to sound like I was really insightful. So. If you want to hear me being sometimes insightful or read me being insightful, humanistdad.uk is my website, and that links to all my various podcast appearances and blogs. And my main series at the moment I've just finished is A to Z of humanist parenting. So I got to Z. So I'll see what I'm going to be writing about next. That's humanistdad.uk.
Awesome.
So definitely go and follow Alastair. All of his content is great. I will link to his blog about how to make events more welcoming for neurodivergent folks.
Yes.
Because I literally think about that blog once a month,
if
a great
not
blog. More.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can we just send this blog to everyone? Because I am not technically neurodivergent, but I would say every event I go to, I think about something in that blog post, and I'm like, why didn't they do this? Why can't people do this all the time? Why don't they just explain what the event is going to be like? Because then I would feel so much more comfortable going. Or, oh, I went, but if I had known it was going to be like this, I wouldn't have doubted, and I definitely would have I don't know. It's just, he's written tons of wonderful stuff, but like that one I think is just like required reading for anybody who ever wants to do anything with other people. So, but go check out all of his work. And I think that's it. We need to thank Jonathan Zalbin and First Frame Music for the music for this podcast.
Jonathan Zalbin, who we just saw when we were on vacation.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred except for our
kids.
If you occasionally get cello noises, that's because he's the next room over.
He has had no cello lessons.
Just FaceTiming with his grandmother, showing off his new cello.
Which he has had no lessons on. So this is all free form.
Loves very much.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.